so let's take a look at this investment problem right here. So Jennifer Siegel invested some money at 4.5% simple interest and $1,000 less than twice this amount at 3%. And her total annual income from the investment was $1020. How much was invested at each rate? So we have two investments really. We have one at 4.5% and we have one investment at 3%. So we want to go ahead and see if we can write some kind of an equation here. And so before we start even to dive into the equation, let's first see if we can give our variable some context. What is it that we don't know? Well, it says Jennifer invested some money. Oh, well, how much? Well, we have no idea. So that's what I'm going to call my x. My x is going to be my investment at 4.5%. Okay, I don't know what that amount is, but I do know that we invested some kind of money at 4.5%. Okay, and then so if we call this amount x, then if we check this out right here, it says that $1,000 less than twice this amount at 3%. So the investment at 3%, check this out here. When it says this amount, okay, so we're referring to x right here, meaning that we took that money that we invested. One was at 4.5% and one was at 3%. So using x as this amount, we say $1,000 less than $1,000. And we talked about this earlier in this chapter. When you say less than, well, that means you're going to do minus. It's minus 1,000, so it's 1,000 less than what? Twice this amount. So it's twice this amount. So it's going to be 2x minus 1,000, and that right there is going to be the investment at 3%. Okay, so I kind of have a little thing going on here. My x is my investment at 4.5%, and 2x minus 100 is my investment at 3%. Okay, now a simple interest equation that you probably have seen before. Interest equals principal multiplied by the rate multiplied by the time. We want to go ahead and actually use that and see how we can use the interest equals principal times rate times time to create an equation here, and we want to solve really for x, because that's what we're trying to find. It says how much was invested at each rate, so we want to know how much was invested here and there. So let's see if we can make sense of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create just a like a little table here, and so I'm going to just create these lines here. I guess I'll go across as well. So basically what I'm going to have on top is my principal times my rate multiplied by my time equals my interest. Principal times rate times time equals interest. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one right here. Okay, at my first investment, Jennifer invested some money. If we don't know what the money is, then that's the principal, right? When it talks about we're investing some kind of money, and so that kind of money is x. So I'm going to put x right here for my principal, because we don't know how much money was invested. Now, what was the rates? The rate was at 4.5%. So I'm going to turn that into a decimal, 0.045. Okay, and then at how much time? Well, Jennifer invested some money at 4.5% simple interest and less than twice the amount at 3%. Her total income from interest. And so how much was invested at each rate? Let's see, do we know? So I guess in this kind of case, okay, I missed it, I guess. Annual. So the annual means 1 year. So it's going to be a time of 1 year. So I kind of read that fast, I didn't see it. So we have our principal times our rate times our time. And when you take all those products, we get our interest. So x times 0.045 times 1 is just simply 0.045x. Cool. So that's the interest of our first investment. Now let's do the second investment. My second investment Let's see, what was my principal? Well, my principal was 2x minus 100, or 1000. That's why we did this work right here. So that's what this is. 2x minus 1000. Oops. Okay, so that's how much money we invested. What was our rate? Well, 3%, so 0.03. And what was our time again? 1 year. So if I multiply all that, like I'm just going to make that a product then, 0.03, multiply that by 2x minus 1000. Okay, so I have my interest of my first investment and my interest of my second investment. So we'll just say this is our first investment and this is my second investment. Alright, so we have a lot of nerdiness going on right there, a lot of algebra, but what the heck, man? Like, so what the heck are we going to do with all this? Well, let's see if this would make sense right here. If our problem says that the total annual income from the interest was 1020, meaning if the total interest from both of them, if I add them both together, I get 1020, then that means if I take my first interest plus my second interest, that right there, if I take that sum, that's going to give me 1020. You see? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my first interest, which is 0.045x, and I'm going to add that to my second interest, 0.03 times 2x minus 1000, and I'm going to set that equal to the total interest, which was 1020. And now we finally have an algebraic equation that we can solve now. Now this is just going to take a little bit of algebra, but nothing that we can't handle because we're like super nerds up in here. Okay, so let's do this then. So I'm going to go ahead and first multiply by 0.03. So I'm going to bring this down. So 0.03 times 2x is 0.06x, and 0.03 times 1000, negative 1000, is going to be negative 30. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and combine these guys right here together, and I'm going to get 0.105x, and then minus 30 equals 1020. Go ahead and add 30 to both sides. Cross those guys out. Get 0.105x equals 1050. And now let's just divide both sides by 0.105. 0.105. And that's going to give us a whopping $10,000. Okay, so we have x. I don't know if we're done yet. Let's go back to the problem and see what the question really was and if we really answered the question. The question is how much was invested at each rate? How much was invested at 4.5% and how much was invested at 3%? So really we're not done. The only thing that we have is x, which is the investment at 4.5%. So really we have half the answer. So we know that $10,000 was invested at 4.5%. Okay. We know that that's true. So maybe I'm going to just write this down kind of right here. So for the first investment, we have $10,000 at 4.5%. So that's my first answer, half of my answer right there. Now what about my second investment? Well, my second investment was the 2x, 2 times x, but now my x is 10,000 minus 1,000. And so it's 20,000 minus 1,000, so it's going to be $19,000, and that was at 3%. Okay, so we had one was invested at $10,000 and one was invested at $19,000.